Hello everyone, Broadcaster here, and I've been playing a game called Starbase by Frozen Byte out of Finland, and it's a really fun title. Been spending a lot of hours in here already. I've got my station unlocked. One thing I want to say here though is I believe what I'm seeing is that easy build mode is toggling on while I'm in my station when you first load in, and you need to turn it off. I make the mistake of entering into easy build mode here with my Aphelios. This video is about the Aphelios. It's taken me into deep space to earn enough to buy the Buffalo, the big mining ship there, and I'm making another one. This is a brand new Aphelios, and I uncover some issues by default with it here, and might be able to help out some people who are getting started with this ship and want to avoid having some of the default issues show up. So what happens here, I'm going to open up the propellant bay doors. That's your first button on the left here. And when I do, you'll see a durability error pops up right away as soon as I do that. And what happens is the propellant bay door opens up, and in this recording I don't actually notice it right away. But what I am doing is just showing that this is where you have access to your propellant piping. When you do add more propellant tanks, you'll need to be able to open those doors to plumb it in and wire it. Then here we're going to go into the underside, which is where the actual default durability issue is. And I still don't see it here, but here's where you can have your extra fuel cell storages, fuel rod, I should say, storage. And those are 2 or 4 small tanks on each side for 8 small tanks. And those are medium-sized harnesses, so it can hold 8 small tanks or 8 small tanks in addition to 3 medium-sized tanks, but you can't add more small ones, so you have to unlock medium-sized tanks to use the upgrade harnesses in the Aphelios. Or you can pop out the small tanks, but if you've already added medium ones, it's difficult to get in there, so sometimes it's easier to plumb something on the outside just to get you home, take it off afterwards. So that's your generator door here, and I still haven't noticed the durability issue. I'm not hooked up to the resource collector, but here's another issue. Is this is the leading edge of the ship, and you've got your main flight computer and all your control levers right on that front facing top left corner of the bow of the ship. So, and in there, one of the levers has in its blueprint a wire that runs through it, and if it gets damaged and you try to use the print tool to repair it, it's not going to work. It'll get partially through the print process and then stop. So then you'll be forced to have to craft another lever or copy one of the other levers and then relabel it in order to make it function. It can be a bit of an ordeal, but that is yet another issue, and I'm going to go through in another video how to move all the main flight computer and the levers off of that wall to keep it from getting damaged. If you're going to take this in, the goal is to go on long voyages with this. It's an inexpensive ship. Here's your tool access. You can have a mining laser or any kind of accessory laser hooked up there. This front girder system there, though, works good for setting up a bit of a push bar, and this has a small frontal fingerprint, so it doesn't get hit as easily. It doesn't have very good lateral movement, but it's pretty tough. If you set up a bit of a push bar, some glass up front, you can go in pretty deep and not have any issues with it. I was able to get Cutonium and Karenite and bring that back in quite abundance in order to afford my Buffalo. So here, what I'm going to do here is show you how, and I'm going to go into that durability issue again, but at this point I still haven't noticed it. And what we're doing here is we're going to use some minimal amount of structure to set up frame support to get your bench installed. and it can be a little tricky. There's not a lot of room in this cab, so there's like maybe one or two options for setting it up, and both of them can encounter situation there. Here I'm noticing I'm in easy build mode, so that's disturbing to me. When I see that, I'm immediately confused and wondering why it's on, because I wasn't in it before. So before doing any attaching to your ship in easy build mode, this isn't confirmed, just my opinion, there's problems with that mode or the bay for sure. We know that that's confirmed. It can relabel your devices, but does the mode affect your ships? I still don't know that for sure. It may not be an issue, but I'm not taking any chances at this point. So now I'm out of easy build mode, and we're going to get back into putting in some corner frame. And the idea is to be able to set this up so that if something gets damaged, you can pull things out and not pull more wires apart. So this is going to set the frame up so that you can put down your bench. It'll be cleared from the wall, and you can disconnect the bench and not damage any of the wiring. So it's pretty simple. Just 4 corners and 2 lateral support beams, which I'm setting up here. Of course, you always have to make sure you're welding everything in place properly. And you can pitch your pieces, if you don't know this, most of you will, with your Z, X, and Y access button by holding and rotating with your mouse. And I'm not exactly the fastest at it, but I'm getting there. And after we place this last piece and weld it, that is basically your framework. That's a medium, second shortest beam, I believe, that you can, for the length there. And once we have this all welded in, it's a simple matter of popping out the bench and placing it, and not placing it too tight against the wall. And you'll see, I'll have a look down afterwards, but this is close to where I uncovered the durability issue with the ship. We're getting out the bench here. The other thing is 4 bolts should hold it down. It's never a bad idea to have more. As soon as I put down these first 4, I'm watching for durability issues, and that's why I noticed that there is one. While the bench is green and all the welding is green, there is no problem. Here we are seeing a durability issue with the ship. This is confusing to me. So, and I'm wondering if it's just not reporting the proper status of the bench. So my first thought is to go under and maybe add more reinforcement to it. Doesn't make any sense though. It's not clipping through the wire at the back there. On the back right hand side there's a wire that runs straight down, and it's good to not push the bench too far back there, or when you remove it, it'll cut that wire. But I go ahead anyway and place the meter down. And you need the meter to fuel up your tier 2 rods, and it uses Xerium and Cutonium. I think it's Cutonium. 2 rarer minerals, so it's good to have some of that for those meters if you're going to go into tier 2 rods. So there you see the wire that's going down, and it is not intersecting. But I'm starting to wonder about this durability issue. And I remembered in my previous Aphelios that, yeah, there was a tank that I remember having to tighten up, and it was in the middle of my journey, and I was way in deep space, and was really just frustrated that I'm not able to get past this problem. I hadn't opened my propellant doors. I had a propellant tank, and I had the means to refuel the propellant tanks. So I was prepared to do that, and hadn't opened the propellant tank doors at that time. So my problem didn't become discovered until I was way out 500 kilometers deep into the asteroid belt. So this video is to try to help anyone with an Aphelios avoid that issue, and I believe I'll get to discovering it here right shortly. You'll have to bear with me here while we reinforce this bench needlessly. These are some of the things that people may not know, that you can pinpoint your bolt placement so that you're able to shoot up through girders into structures to help support them. Where you aim is where you'll deliver your bolts, so it's helpful to be able to know that. Because placing tanks is another issue. Propellant tanks require knowing the place on the tank harness that is able to receive the bolt into the tank in order to get the tank secured. And we'll be showing you that right shortly, because that is a precursor to the problem. And I'm just overdoing it here. Would have been maybe ideal to have cut this out of the video, but I'm kind of wanting to leave this all in one stretch of video, because the durability issue shows up here in this one uncut video and is resolved in this video without any breaks, and as evidence that the problem was discovered through clicking the button, propellant door. And if I had the audio track recorded here, we would have heard that it's creaking, and I'm confirmed now that, yeah, there's something wrong. It's this point that I recognize that there had been an issue back there. You can see it in the red. There's the propellant tank, and it's a harness that is not secured correctly by default with this ship. And here we go. So there's the problem, and it's not a problem. It doesn't register as a problem until you open those propane tank doors, your propellant doors. And there, here's the point where you can fire up through the harness, the tank harness, into the propellant tank, and that'll allow you to, there we go. That's all it took, was one more bolt, and it turned green. So while I'm here, I just fire a few extra ones in to show this is where you want to fire into your tank when you do add or remove or replace your tanks. These tanks too, like the additional harnesses, and those are for the medium tanks, some of them are wired in. I don't know if all of them are wired in, plumbed and wired, but you'll find if you just drop your medium-sized propellant tank into these medium-sized harnesses, that the propellant won't register with the network fuel storage. And in order to get it to register, you'll have to actually cut the wire and then reconnect it. And that is really all it takes. Once you do that, the harness is it'll have the tank installed at that point, and will then add to the network fuel. So here we've resolved the issue with the durability error, and that is basically the point of this video. In the next video, I'll be getting into moving the main flight computer and the levers over, and yeah, and hopefully you'll be able to avoid the problem of the default small propellant tank issue. when you buy your Aphelios. And I thank you for joining me, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.